You're going to get Gonzalez back. Who knows what he is? I keep forgetting about Marcus Jones as well. That's another name he mentioned. So you can make a case the defense will be better than a year ago. I don't feel that way, Mego, because look at who they're going against. Quarterbacks on the other side. I think the schedule is more difficult. And I do think for as much as I knock Bill, I'm going to give Bill more credit for keeping that defense together than unknown Gerard Mayo this year.
I think people are grasping a little too tightly at the defense being so good. I think the defense will be good. I think that they'll give you maybe 2 games that they basically can go out and win on their own. But I think you need to have a competent, functional offense. And with all these first-time coaches in here and a kind of just like smattering of players that you're throwing together, it's going to take a while for that offense to even be functional and competent. I mean, there were times over the last 2 years where it felt like that team never reached that threshold. And even when you did, you lost. You lost these games. And so, like, is the defense going to be some kind of incredibly elite, like, late 90s, like, I don't, a version of football that we don't really see anymore? Like, no, not when you're playing these teams on the other side that are on your schedule that are just going to be able to put up over 24 points every game. Like, can you get in above the low 20s on your offense is the bigger question to me. And I don't think that there's really anything that this defensive group can do that they're going to be able to
answer
hold
that question.
That over.
Can they get in the low 20s?
I haven't seen anything to suggest that.
Okay. Tell me who the quarterback is. If it's Brissett, hell no. If it's May, sure.
But it's like people are looking at naming the guys like Gonzalez, who I think seems to be really, really talented, but we've barely seen anything of him. Marcus Jones is like a utility guy. He's like a gadget guy. And they're like, oh, well, Marcus Jones is coming back. It's like, what? Matthew Judon is far and away their best player, and he's coming off of an injury, and he's slightly disgruntled, at least, about his contract situation. And so to hold up those 3 players and say, you don't even know what you're getting with this defense, it just seems like you're grasping a little bit. You're reaching to me. You're going, there's going to be something about this team that suggests that they're a New England Patriots team. They're not just some other football team.
I just don't think it's a crazy take to say they were a pretty good defensive team last year and they're getting back arguably their 2 best players.
Yeah, and they had a foundation of defense that was something they can look at and say, well, we have a little muscle memory for this. Like, the offense has nothing. Like, they have nothing.
If it's 2024. If you're pinning your hopes to winning on defense, I think it's a bad strategy, is what I think. So can they score in the 20s? That's Mego's question. Arkan, can they score in the 20s?
No, I don't think so. I think that there's a chance that they'll do it a couple of times and that they'll have a couple of games where the offense...
They did it a couple of times last year.
Right, like they had that Bills game and there was a few, and I think that you'll see them, and there will be flashes, but are they going to average
in the 20s?
No, I don't think they can. I just don't think it's going to be that kind of offense. No, I don't think so. I'd like to be wrong, certainly, but I'm not looking at this offense right now, an offense that really hasn't, aside, from quarterback, who's a complete unknown. If you were bringing in somebody and you knew what it was, like if you brought in a veteran quarterback, which was something I was sort of into in the offseason, if that was the case, I might think a little bit differently. But a rookie and all the rookie kind of, hurdles and everything, the rookie wall you hit midway through the year, I think there's a good chance this offense is in the same area it was last year in terms of points.
You know how many teams averaged 20 or more points a game last year? And this is total points. This isn't just on offense, but this is total points per game.
Like 2/3 of them, probably.
Yeah, 22 teams.
Yeah. That's exactly what I was going to say.
So, like, you got to avoid being a bottom 10 offense. They're incapable of doing that. They can't do that.
I'm not saying they're incapable.
I think they're a
but
bottom
what does
10
it look
offense.
like?
Yeah.
He said they can't. You said they cannot.
Yes, I think they will be a bottom 10 offense.
If your offense is basically like Jacoby Brissett, Hunter Henry, Ramondre Stevenson, and maybe you throw Antonio Gibson in there or somebody else, like maybe you run a weird little trick play with Marcus Jones here or there, and maybe one of your rookie receivers is actually really good to start. Like, where does that get you? KJ Osborne, maybe Kendrick Bourne
Second and 7.
Like, this is so hodgepodge, Like, it doesn't...
Okay,
where does that get
what,
you? What
does
that offense look like to you?
Okay, that's if the offense looks like that. What if it's Drake May and Jalen Polk can play? All of a sudden, like, that's a big step to being just avoiding being a bottom 10 offense. That's all. And so
you just don't see it that often with 2 rookies like that.
Okay. I mean, I saw it last year. And so you like Pop Douglas.
I know, and it's the one example that we can all glom onto. It's one.
Well, it's not one. I mean, teams come out of left field, out of last place literally every single year in the NFL. Teams that we expect to be bad on offense have good years. Now, look, there's plenty of teams that we expect to be bad.
A lot of teams also suck over and over again when they're picking high in the draft.
That's true, but I'm just saying, you're saying it's impossible to happen. It's not going to happen.
In my mind, yes. I don't think it will.
I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm just saying the way that on paper I look at the offense today, I go, It doesn't seem like an offense that's going to be putting up many in the 20s.
Okay. What did you say, Ryan? They scored in the 27 times last year?
No, they scored in the 20s 5 times.
I'm sorry.
Last year. 20,
nice.
21, 21, 26, 29. They scored in the
29 is
single
great.
digits.
I remember that. Yeah.
7 times. 7, 6, 3, 3,
So
0.
they scored in single digits more than they scored in the 20s.
That would be
Zero
correct.
is a single digit.
Yeah,
It
but-
is a single digit, yes.
Okay, but you know why? Because
is
because it was Mac and it was Bill, and like ideally,
Hey, Zappy
No,
was the QB
I
some of those
don't
games,
think
so.
it's just that.
December
Jones.
3rd was not
if
Mac
it's
Jones.
just that, yes, those are the biggest pieces. But if it's just that, then why were you crowing about them going out and getting somebody in free agency?
Oh, no.
A wide receiver.
I don't think they did enough. I'm just saying, how do they exceed expectations? How do they win 6, 7, 8 games? I'm not talking playoffs. That would be getting Calvin Ridley and guys like that. Tyron Smith. That's what I wanted them to do. They didn't do that. But how do they exceed expectations and win 6, 7, 8 games? They just avoid being a bottom 10 offense. That's all I'm talking about. And I really don't think it's that hard to do. I mean, look at some of the teams that scored 20-plus points per game. The Vikings were an offensive mess last year. Their quarterbacks were horrendous. They averaged over 20 a game.
Out there for 2 weeks.
So, it's not that difficult to score 20 a game. It's really not. What do you guys think? 617-779-7937.
Vikings have weapons, though, and they just cracked 20 points.
Yeah,
So
that's
even
true.
if, like the Patriots' weapons end up being good and May struggles, then that still could be a tough thing to get.
That's
I
true.
just think the odds of it are low. That's all.
When they had Jefferson out there and when they had Hawkinson out there, those guys were also hurt for large stretches
that's
last year. But Addison had a good rookie year. That's true.